This is a super duper quick video, but I think it's super valuable for those of you who are shooting in areas, locations that you're like, it doesn't look good, it doesn't look cinematic. How do I make my talk to camera videos look good when I don't have a good setting? Well, I'll give you guys a quick little tour. This is a hotel room. And now, while this isn't like my prime background, there are a few things that I did to make this setup at least feel a little bit better for doing these talks to camera videos. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a room tour and show you how I made this at least look a little bit better than you know, just being a regular old hotel room. The first thing that I want to break down for you guys is the fact that it does not matter where you are shooting, it matters what you're talking about. So if you're not talking about anything interesting, it doesn't matter how amazing your backdrop is, it's not going to work. You could have mountains of New Zealand behind you and it's not going to make you feel interesting. So make sure what you're talking about is interesting, and that will actually blur out the background a lot more. So that's just sort of the mental, the motivation type thing. Let's get into the technical stuff. The real stuff that you're like, man, my room sucks, it's not interesting, what am I gonna do? Well, I'll give you guys a room tour and then talk about how I sort of set this thing up. Okay, so camera is off, el tripado. Excuse me for the mess that this room is. I'm like packing and hoteling. So the number one thing that I need you guys to notice is the background. The background is something that a lot of people focus on and talk about. So let's do a little bit of an explanation of what I did with this background. There are a few backgrounds that I could have utilized in shows. For example, I have like this nice sort of mountain vista that I could have used, but then the beds are in the shot and I wasn't too crazy about the beds. But I want to use the window light. Now, window light should be your number one motivator for where you are filming. Mostly because it's the best lighting of natural daylight. If you're shooting this at night, I mean, you can use like little practicals like these guys that don't work. Oh, there we go. Like those guys, but it doesn't give the nicest of lighting. So what I like to do is use natural window light to sort of create a nice soft box, a natural soft box. Now, the reason why I use this as the backdrop is for two reasons. First thing, I talk about video editing, and so I thought, oh, this is a good spot to put my laptop. The second reason was there was this mirror, and this mirror captured that vista that I wanted. So I'm like, oh, cool, I can just shoot with that mirror in the back and then use this natural window light. But the background still seemed a little bit flat. So what I did was I actually moved this lamp over here that was originally on this side because my head was actually blocking it. I slid it over here and then just turned it on, and that created just a little bit more depth within the frame and made it seem a little bit more interesting. And since I was rushing through this, I actually put all of the garbage that was in the shot just behind my laptop and hid it by it. But I like sort of cleaner backgrounds, minus the coffee cup. And backgrounds that tell a bit of a story. So this was something that had some more interest. It gave me that nice little reflection and sort of talked about what I talk about, which is technical stuff. For this shot, I set my aperture to an f2.8, and that was the highest f-stop that I could get for this lens. For me, if I'm shooting in worse locations, I'll actually try and crank up my f-stop as high as possible, therefore you don't see as much background and I'm a lot more separated. So for example, I shoot a lot on my 18-35, a Sigma Art Series lens. I get an f1.8, which just really separates the background from me beautifully. But if you don't have that, try and crank your f-stop up to as high as possible. And if you still don't have that, try and distance yourself in the background as much as possible. So therefore, the background is a lot blurrier and you are more in focus. Finally, the number one thing to make sure that your videos always have is a level camera. So I use el tripado, and two is really good sound. Make sure if your sound is clean, you can actually get away with a lot of mischievousness as far as what the background looks like. Okay, so that's it. That's sort of the breakdown of how all this stuff works out, from lighting, setup, aperture, all of that fun stuff. If you guys are interested in watching a little bit more stuff that I make sort of within this realm of filmmaking creativity, you guys can look at my YouTube page, give it a little bit of a subscribe, and hit me up on Instagram. Take a look at some of my work there, and if you want to message me or have questions about what I'm babbling on about, shoot me a little DM and we can keep this conversation going. Okay, I'm gonna go enjoy a little bit of Utah before scooting out of here. There's birds and stuff I can ride on. Not real birds, but like the scooter birds that are like all over LA. Where are you going? Oh man, hey, get back here.